Hello everyone, Jules here. Today I'd like to talk about some esoteric books by two particular authors who have a connection with the Golden Dawn. And the first book is written by Eliphas Levi, who was a French esotericist, and this is called Magic, A History of its Rites, Rituals and Mysteries. And this is quite an important book. This was first written in French in 1860. So this book is very important historically for that reason. And it was later translated into English by Arthur Waite of the Waite-Smith Tarot deck fame. So this is quite an interesting and important book, and it was quite an influential book on the ideas of the Golden Dawn. It is really important from a historical perspective, not only for the time period that it was written in, but it's a bit like a history of magic and Hermeticism and Kabbalah. But it's written in quite an interesting way. There are some drawings and diagrams in here that are really quite interesting. And this book is still available because it is really a classic in the esoteric field. And I'll just show you a photograph in here, quite a well-known photograph of Eliphas Levi. And this is when he was a member of the Catholic Church. He actually trained as a priest, but left the church just before he took his ordination, because he decided that it wasn't quite what he wanted to do, particularly with the rule of celibacy, and he wanted to marry. So he's actually photographed in his religious clergy attire in that photograph, and that's quite a well-known photograph. And he was quite a learned person in regards to Kabbalah, because he had had Judeo-Christian training, and he was credited with being one of the first people to work on the correspondences of the Hebrew letters with the 22 major arcana of the tarot. He actually wasn't the first one. There was Attila before him, who was another French esotericist, who I have also done a tarot review recently about the Attila Book of Thoth deck, and there were a couple of other people just before, only a few years before Attila, who were the original French esotericists to relate the Hebrew letters with the 22 major arcana cards. But he is credited with that, so I just wanted to make that point. He actually developed that idea further because he didn't agree with the original idea about tarot being associated with ancient Egypt. So he developed that idea further, but there is a whole range of different subjects in this book. It's really interesting, and it's not too difficult to read. It's not easy to read. I think it's for someone who is at least at the intermediate level to possibly advanced with esoteric knowledge, already familiar with esoteric and magic, Western magic ideas. But there is a whole range of ideas in here. So I think it's really an interesting and important book from an esoteric point of view. So for people who are interested in those things, it is quite an important book. So this is Magic by Eliphas Levi, the subtitle, A History of its Rites, Rituals and Mysteries. And particularly the emphasis on the history and the mysteries. The next author is quite important as well and has a connection to the Golden Dawn. This is Dion Fortune. I have talked about this book a little bit before in my Qabalah videos. Dion Fortune was one of the few female members of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, but a lot of people think that Dion Fortune, and by the way, that was her magic name. Her original name was Violet Firth. She was an English esotericist. She was a member of the Golden Dawn, but this was not the original Golden Dawn because that had long disbanded by the time she became a member. She was a member of the branch called Alpha et Omega, which was a temple branch that had formed after the disbandment of the original Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And she was also involved with the Theosophical Society first. A lot of people may not be aware of the Theosophical Society. It was quite an important movement. It was actually before the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. I have actually been a member of the Theosophical Society for a number of years. I have since then joined other societies, but it is quite an important spiritual society that is still functioning. And Dion Fortune got her first spiritual ideas and her first spiritual introduction from the Theosophical Society, and then later became a member of the Golden Dawn. So this is quite an important book. It's one of the best books on Qabalah, but it is particularly for intermediate to advanced readers. And I am showing this book because it is an important book by quite an important female esotericist. And Dion Fortune, after the Golden Dawn membership, went on to found her own branch, her own order, called the Society of Inner Light, which is still functioning in London, I think it is, in England. Here is a photograph of Dion Fortune. And she lived between 1891 and 1946. And she was one of the devotees of particularly the Western esoteric tradition. So this is quite an important book, but it is not an easy read by any means. If you have a really good intermediate to advanced foundation of Qabalah, it is quite a great book and quite an important book. And that book, of course, is still available. another book by Dion Fortune called The Cosmic Doctrine. This is quite an important book as well. This book is a bit different. It's about the formation of the universe from a spiritual point of view. And some people think this book was actually channeled, but it actually wasn't. Dion Fortune mentions at the beginning of the book that these insights were gained from her focus on the plane of consciousness, which is different to channeled ideas or messages. This is written in an accessible way, but the ideas may be a little bit too out there for some people. This book is particularly more of a theosophical approach than the Qabalah book. The Qabalah book is much more of a Golden Dawn based book. This one is more of the theosophical basis in regard to the formation of the universe. So it's another good book. It's another important book for people who want to know a bit more about the ideas of Dion Fortune. That book's still available too. And the final book is one that has been published recently by Llewellyn, and it is about the ideas of Dion Fortune. And it's called The Keys to the Temple. And this is by Penny Billington and Ian Rees. And the subtitle is Unlocking Dion Fortune's Mystical Qabalah Through Her Occult Novels. And Dion Fortune wrote novels as well as her esoteric books. And her novels have some ideas in them that are tied in with Qabalah concepts. So this book is really good for people who are already familiar with Dion Fortune's Qabalah approach. This book will not teach you Qabalah. It has some diagrams in here, but this book is about particular concepts of Qabalah. It is not all of Qabalah. There's only particular concepts in here. The novels that Dion Fortune wrote are intertwined in this book with Qabalah ideas. So it's interesting in the way that I think it's particularly for people who have read Dion Fortune's novels. You don't have to have already read the novels, but I think it is particularly good for those people. The way the book has been written, you could still read this without having read the novels of Dion Fortune if you are particularly interested in Qabalah and you have like an intermediate knowledge of Qabalah. For people who are new to Qabalah, I'm not sure that you would understand the concepts and enjoy the book as much, because it won't be as easy to follow and to understand as much as someone who is familiar with the novels of Dion Fortune and or has some foundational to immediate knowledge of Qabalah. It's an interesting book. It's quite a good book. but I would have to put that proviso about the book for people who buy the book without knowing much about Qabalah or the Dion Fortune novels. They may not enjoy this book as much as those other people. So this is The Keys to the Temple by Penny Billington and Ian Rees, and I'll put the details below the video. So I hope people enjoyed hearing about the books of Dion Fortune and the book by Eliphas Levi, because they're two important esotericists who had a connection with the Golden Dawn. So I'll put the details below the video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.